The concept of an Islamic NATO has once again captured headlines and stirred debates across the globe. Why? Because in September 2025, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, a pact that may very well alter the security architecture of the Muslim world. Now, people have used the phrase Islamic NATO loosely before. Remember the Islamic Military Counter-Terrorism Coalition, or IMCTC, launched in 2015? That was hyped as a Muslim military bloc, but it never really lived up to the hype. This time, however, things feel different. Why? Because the Saudi-Pakistan Pact is not just rhetoric, it's a treaty with teeth. According to Reuters, this agreement even includes a clause that mirrors NATO's Article 5. An attack on one will be treated as an attack on both. That's not just symbolism, that's a direct commitment. So what does this mean for the Middle East, for South Asia, and even for the global balance of power? Is this really the beginning of an Islamic NATO? Or is it just another ambitious pact that will fizzle under the weight of geopolitics? This is Makhdoom Shahabuddin, and you're watching Fact Flow. To understand why the SMDA matters, we need to rewind the clock. Saudi-Pakistani military ties go back over 40 years. In 1982, both nations signed a defense protocol that cemented their strategic relationship. Since then, Pakistan has frequently stationed troops in Saudi Arabia, not as occupiers but as protectors of the kingdom's most sacred sites and as trainers of Saudi forces. This cooperation was built on trust. For decades, Riyadh relied on Pakistani expertise whenever its internal security felt under threat. But the first serious attempt to formalize a wider Muslim bloc came in 2015 with the launch of IMCTC, headquartered in Riyadh and commanded by Pakistan's former army chief, General retired Rahil Sharif. Western media quickly dubbed it the Islamic NATO. Yet the coalition struggled due to that time's geopolitical complications. Fast forward to the 2020s, and the geopolitical context changed dramatically. The war in Yemen, drone strikes on Saudi oil facilities, and most dramatically, Israel's unprecedented strikes on Qatar in 2025 all exposed how fragile Gulf security really was. That's why the SMDA matters. It's not just a military handshake, it's a treaty-level commitment, one that may finally breathe life into the long-discussed but never realized idea of an Islamic defense alliance. So what exactly is in this agreement? Unlike past symbolic statements, the SMDA is comprehensive. Joint training and exercises, regular drills between Saudi and Pakistani forces across air, land, and sea. Intelligence cooperation, shared surveillance, counterterrorism operations and cyber defense, logistics and crisis response, coordinated supply chains and joint rapid deployment capabilities, and most importantly, defense industrial collaboration, co-production of weapons, technology transfer, and research partnerships. One particularly striking element is maritime security. Both countries pledged to jointly safeguard the Red Seas and the Gulf of Oman, two waterways that are the lifeblood of global energy flows. Brookings analysts argue that the pact institutionalizes decades of informal cooperation and for the first time provides a credible deterrence umbrella for the Gulf states. And here's the kicker. Smaller GCC nations like Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman stand to benefit too. They often lack manpower and rely heavily on foreign contractors. With Pakistani expertise in the mix, they suddenly get access to a battle-tested force multiplier. So why is Riyadh doing this? At the heart of it lies one simple truth. Saudi Arabia doesn't trust the US like it used to. For decades, America was the kingdom's ultimate security guarantor, but cracks have been showing. When missiles and drones struck Saudi oil facilities in 2019, Washington's response was lukewarm. And after Israel struck Qatar, despite US bases nearby, the reaction was more rhetoric than action. That was a wake-up call for Riyadh. According to the Atlantic Council, Saudi Arabia is now pursuing a strategy of security diversification, keeping ties with Washington, but also building independent options. And this is where Pakistan comes in. For Riyadh, Islamabad offers a nuclear-capable ally. Even the nuclear sharing isn't on the table. The shadow of Pakistani deterrence is very powerful. A trusted partner that has historically defended Saudi territory. In short, Pakistan is the perfect partner to reduce dependence on the US while still maintaining strong deterrence against regional rivals. But let's flip the question. Why is Pakistan doing this? For Islamabad, the SMDA is nothing short of a strategic jackpot. Economically, Pakistan is struggling. Saudi Arabia has often been its lender of last resort, providing billions in emergency loans, deferred oil payments, and direct deposits. By tying these flows to a formal defense pact, Islamabad ensures a stable pipeline of financial support. But it's not just about aid. This pact opens doors to defense industrial cooperation. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 includes massive investment in local defense manufacturing. Pakistan, with its JF-17 and J-10C fighter jets, Al-Khalid tanks and drone programs, is a ready partner. Imagine joint assembly lines in Riyadh with Pakistani engineers and Saudi capital. That's sustainable revenue for Pakistan's defense industry as well. There's even talk that Saudi Arabia could purchase the JF-17 Thunder co-developed with China. If that happens, Pakistan's defense footprint in the Gulf will expand dramatically. Geopolitically, this pact boosts Pakistan's role as a bridge between South Asia and the Middle East. After years of being sidelined internationally, Islamabad regains a central role in one of the most strategically vital regions on the earth. Now zooming out, what does this mean for the world? For the United States, it's a headache. Washington has long prized itself on being the Gulf's ultimate security provider. The SMDA dilutes that monopoly. For China, it's a quiet win. Beijing has invested billions in both Pakistan, CPEC, and Saudi Arabia. A stronger Riyadh-Islamabad axis helps secure China's energy lifeline and weakens the US dominance. For Russia, this is also useful. Moscow has grown closer to Riyadh through CPEC Plus and arms sales. A multipolar Middle East weakens NATO's strategic hold and opens doors for Russian diplomacy. And then there's Israel. After a strike on Qatar, Israel faces the prospect of a Gulf bloc with nuclear-capable Pakistan standing behind it. As analysts at Informcom note, this pact is viewed in Tel Aviv as a direct counterweight to Israeli influence. In short, the SMDA is not just regional, it's global. And what about India? Publicly, New Delhi's response has been muted. The Ministry of External Affairs said it would study the implications, but beneath the diplomatic language lies clear unease. For the BJP-RSS government, this pact complicates the narratives. They have long tried to frame Pakistan as isolated internationally. Now suddenly, Islamabad is signing a treaty-level pact with Riyadh, one of the most powerful states in the Muslim world. For India's economy, this matters too. Over 8 million Indians work in the Gulf, sending billions home in remittance. If Riyadh leans more towards Islamabad, it could reshape the balance of influence. ISPI analysts argue that the SMDA could blunt India's growing footprint in the region. And for the Modi government, which has built its politics around Hindutva nationalism, seeing Pakistan regain prestige in the Gulf is an uncomfortable reality. The Saudi-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement is not just another defense pact. It is the closest we have come to a real Islamic NATO. For Saudi Arabia, it's a path to strategic autonomy, no longer over-reliant on Washington's conditional guarantees. For Pakistan, it's a chance to turn its military strength into economic and diplomatic capital. As Brookings and the Belfer Center caution, the real test will be implementation. Can these lofty commitments be translated into political defense coordination? Can sectarian divides be bridges? Can smaller Gulf states buy into the framework without fear of domination? If those hurdles are overcome, then yes, this pact could mark the birth of a new security order, one not dictated solely by Washington, Moscow, or Beijing, but by Riyadh and Islamabad at its core. And that could reshape not just the Middle East, but the global strategic landscape. So I leave you with this question. Is this the dawn of an Islamic NATO, or the opening chapter of new rivalries? If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pakistan Connect for more episodes of Fact Flow.